Thank you for joining, and let's get stuck in. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I hope you can see my screen. Let me just move this so it's clearer. My name is Nana Mensah, and I'm a workshop facilitator for Hustle and Heals. As you all probably know, but I'll just explain again. Hustle and Heals is a social enterprise that supports underrepresented entrepreneurs to start, improve, and grow their businesses through events, workshops, and programs. I've been working with Hustle and Heals almost for a year now, and I'm an independent brand and business consultant. My specialities are development, communications, marketing, and generally helping businesses, specifically in beauty and fragrance, grow, but I also do a lot of training and development. So I'm looking forward to talking to you today, and I think it's a small group, so it's going to be quite interactive. So could I just have I can see a few people have already started speaking in the chat. Just please, any questions you have, put them in the chat or feel free to stop me. And if you want to take your cameras on, that would be great because there's only a few of us, so we can probably get a lot more out of it. But please do whatever you feel comfortable. Okay. Right, so can I get a little bit of a feedback in the chat from everybody? How's everybody doing? Everybody okay? Excellent, good. Amajit, I'm looking forward to it too, after the technical issues. So this is basically how today is going to go. But as I've said before, please jump in. Any questions? Let's go forward and not backwards. So today, we're going to cover a few things, but I've just tried to make it really simple. Firstly, I'm going to define business automation. What actually does this mean? Once we've talked about that, I'm going to talk about why you should automate. And then we're going to talk more about how we decide where we actually automate, which parts of the business we apply automation to. Finally, we're going to talk about some of the tools and the platforms that you can use to automate your business. Okay, sound good? Okay, so let's move on to the next step. First of all, what is automation? Now, I don't know about you, but when I first heard the concept of automation, I actually thought about maybe being in a factory, making processes more automatic, as opposed to just doing them manually. And actually, that's quite a good way of looking at it. I'm suggesting that we think of automation as finding ways just to simplify repetitive tasks that you need to complete all the time. In almost every business, in every admin situation, there's going to be some things that you simply have to do. You've got to fill out the document, file it, put it away, reference it, and go back. So automation is something that can help make some of these jobs more efficient. Automation is basically creating systems that make you do things in a faster way, in a more efficient way. Or another way you can look at automation is to consider outsourcing, which is giving that role to somebody else, okay? So the basic aim is just to free up your time and maximize your efficiency. And these days, there are very many technology apps and platforms you can use to help you. Okay, so I hope that's clear. If there are any questions, feel free to jump in on the chat. So going back to what I was saying before, now, I don't know how many of you have a car or drive, but we all know that car manufacturing is a very long and labor-intensive process, and there are lots of steps. And usually it's done in a factory. Now, this picture is a picture I dug out from some archives of the Ford company in Detroit back in the 19th century, because that's where Ford is from. And one of the things that made Ford such a hugely popular company in the past, and even now, is that the founder, Henry Ford, decided that he could find ways to make his business more efficient by repeating some of the processes and creating what he called a production line. So obviously this is an ancient picture, it's in black and white, and what you can see is all the different groups of people, men in particular, making standard sort of processes to a vehicle. And this idea to take out the repetitive steps and make it into some kind of process line was actually revolutionary at the time, because what it meant was everything was organized. You knew what step you did when and what followed what, and every car was made in the same way. So that made them control the costs, it made them control the ordering, and it also helped make everything faster. Because instead of having different cars being made at different times and people being on different stages, they said, right, all of the wheels are going to go on at this time. All of the crankshafts, I'm not mechanical, will go on at this time. And after we've done that, we will move on to the next step. So that's what automation is about, trying to find the bits that you can make simpler, making them simple and speeding up the process. Okay. Just to summarize again, so the benefits of automating are that you remove the repetitive tasks, you do them faster, you can monitor how much time you spend. And if you're all small businesses, you will know that time is money. To be fair, time is money for all businesses, but especially when you're starting out. And once you look at the time you're spending, you can analyze whether you're spending too much or you can afford to spend more, and therefore work out how to save money. Now, there is a downside to automation in some areas. It can make everything seem uniform and quite bland, because obviously you're doing the same thing all the time, every day. And you may have to spend some time investing and putting money into the process so you can actually get it to work efficiently. But sometimes the pros outweigh the cons. So right, we're going to break it up now. I would love to see some of your faces, but if you don't want to, I understand. However, we're going to be interactive. So the first thing I want to do is hear from you, each of you, A, what your business is called, and B, what your key service is. So would you be happy to talk to me or maybe put it in the chat? Anybody?
Hi there.
Hello.
I don't know if you can hear us. Yeah, I'm very interested in this. Yeah, so I don't actually have a business at the moment. I'm considering it. Just working at the moment. So
Okay.
yeah, so I don't have a business at the moment, but I'm considering like a consultancy type business, service-based business, and the key service is like discovery, like discovering innovation within a business, and identifying where their key needs might be. The element that's attracting me to the processing is more to do with the activities I'm doing in day-to-day business operations, rather than the actual service that I'm delivering, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And actually what we're going to talk about is looking at the processes you have in order to make the whole thing more efficient. So you might not necessarily have to automate your end service. It just might be everything that gets you to that service. Look at that and how you can make it more automated. So we'll talk a bit more about that later, but no, you're absolutely spot on. Okay.
And how big is the team? Just one?
Just one, okay. Also very important, because if there's only one of you, you probably need automation. So again, that's also very relevant for most of the people who'll be either watching this video or on the call, because we're talking about small businesses that are just starting up. And I think automation can make a massive difference when you're on your own, because sometimes you feel you've got to do so much. Okay, so you're perfect target market for this presentation. Okay. No, it's really important, because a lot of people are here just starting out, and some people will have started out, but automation can help you no matter which stage you are in your business. Okay.
That's great. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll put myself back on mute now.
Oh no, please, I just wanted to ask you one other question. Sorry, I'm holding on to the person that's interacting with me. Maybe you may not want to share this, but it's also worth thinking of 2 of the processes that you could automate. Now, you mentioned it's more about the processes that take you to deliver your service. So you might not share it now, but just have in mind 2 of the processes, maybe repetitive processes, a bit like what I was saying before.
Yeah, I've captured it in paper. So it's more to do with how to handle what's called inbound marketing, as in leads that are coming in, and not the outbound, because I can do that. It's more to do with, okay, you've got all these channels, whether it's Facebook, whatever it might be, cold calling. Well, I don't want to be doing that. No one likes doing that.
No one likes doing it.
Whatever it is, there is some sort of call to action that you're asking them to do, wherever it might be. Buy a product, buy my service. But it's the bit between the call to action and the actual delivery part. So automating messages that might be going back. You know, thank you for calling me. This is the schedule. Would you like to book a call? That kind of stuff.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not actually making the decision. It's removing me from that decision-making process. Okay, there'll be some filtering, but it won't happen straight away. Yeah.
Right. Excellent. Okay, that is all. Hopefully, I'm pretty sure we're going to cover more or less everything you've mentioned. So that's good, and I'm glad you've also mentioned it, because it also means you're thinking about your business in a lot of detail, which is a great start. So what we'll do is, please keep hold of those thoughts, and hopefully it'll come up. If there's something that we don't tackle, just flag it up and ask me, okay?
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
I'll put myself back on mute now, if you don't mind.
Thank you for sharing. Does anybody else want to talk about their business?
Yeah, I will.
Hello.
Hi. So yeah, well, maybe you can see me. I'm at work, sorry. I'm literally just on lunch. So yeah, my name's Sabrina. I have a skincare business. So I hand make all the products myself. So I guess that's my key service, selling the products. And what's the other question? How big is your team? Just me. And 2 processes that I could automate. So I've automated my welcome email service.
Right.
But what I would love to automate would be, so basically after service customer care. So basically when people buy the products, I'd like to have my emails automated so that I can follow up with them, but not have to follow up with each every person individually.
Right.
So yeah, I would like to definitely get that automated. And yeah, I'd have to have a think on the other one, because I don't like the idea of automating social media, because I think it's more personal and it's something I have to do myself.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, thank you for sharing all the information. And I'm also glad you're a one-person band. Hopefully we're going to cover some of those points during the presentation, but I think you're right. I think we're also going to talk about the fact that automation it's not a standard. Not everybody's going to automate in the same way. So the whole point of today is to talk about some of the tools that are out there so that you can use them for your business in the way that you think makes sense, rather than me saying this is what you need, also because all your businesses are different. Okay, so hopefully park all of those, and hopefully they'll come up as we discuss things. But thank you for showing your face as well. It's nice to see another face. So thank you very much. What was your business called? I didn't ask you that, sorry.
Because I'm eating my lunch, but yeah, thank you.
All right, what was your business called?
MSA Skincare.
MSA Skincare.
MSA Skincare, yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, excellent. Thank you. Enjoy your lunch. Okay, does anybody else want to, hello, hi.
Hi. So what is your business called? It's called Minime's. Little story behind that, but yes. My key services are designing, personalizing, and logo, digital side of it, making logos, letterheads, etc., etc. It was my team. It was just me until I was taken on somebody last month for a 6-month period for now.
Right.
And things I would like to automate, definitely my email, because I am so terrible at getting back to people and I get back really late at times.
Okay.
And possibly phone calls.
Okay. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. And it's nice to have someone in the sort of arts and visual as well, because I think it sounds like a lot of businesses will need your services.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a good place to be. Excellent. All right, thank you very much. Again, park all of those and hopefully we'll cover some of it, if not all of it. Thank you. Anyone else? Charlene. That's a familiar name, I think. Did you want to join in?
I'll try, but I've got quite a few children here, so it's going to be a bit noisy, as you can hear. Okay. And I don't want to get them on the camera either. But yeah, it's Bright Beginnings. And I'm basically a childminding service, which we're in the process of transitioning into a nursery. So I do that. I'm also a therapist and a mental health coach as well. I am automating quite a few bits at the moment, but just thinking, is there any other bits that I could potentially try and automate to try and save me more time? Because even though I've automated quite a lot, I feel as though I still haven't got my time back.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on. It looks glorious out there, by the way.
It is.
Let's make the most of it. Okay.
Definitely.
Great. Thank you very much. And what was the name again of the company? Oh, sorry, I just lost you. If you can remind me the name of your business. In fact, if everybody could put the name, if they're happy, in the chat, then that way we can go back to it. But it's really just important for me to know that when a business exists, it actually has a name. Or in Amajit's case, you have a clear vision. So either way, everybody here is on the road to having the business up and running and thinking about how to make it more efficient. So that's excellent. Okay, thanks for taking part. So on the back of what you've all been saying, I just wanted to go through what I'm calling business processes. A business process is basically what we do every day. So when you're starting a business, as you will all know, it feels that there's so many jobs to do, and you might have to wear lots of hats, like the lady, well, I don't know if you can see this person juggling in the picture. And some of the day-to-day tasks in your business are actually processes. You know, we need to give them that title because we need to recognize that they have a function to play, and whether they're enjoyable or not, they form part of your business's day-to-day running, okay? So with a bit of planning, which some of you are aware of, some of these processes can either be outsourced, so sent off to somebody else, or automated to save money and time. Now, I'm not going to go on about that too much because I think nearly everybody here today has understood that. So, and most of you are on that journey. I'm going to just explain again exactly what some of these processes look like. And it might seem a bit repetitive, but it's just really important. Sending your newsletters, we talked about email communication. If you send newsletters, that's a process. Somebody has to create that content, press a button for that newsletter to go from your email to the customer, to the client, to whoever. It's a process. And there's steps in that process. Filing. Now, filing and ordering and sharing all your, storing all your data needs to be done in a certain way, because at some stage you either have to refer back to that, or you may even be audited, so people need to see how your filing is done. But it's time consuming, but it's a process. There's systems involved. Invoicing, raising invoices, chasing invoices, all of that financial stuff, that's a process, and there are steps in each of those processes. Payments goes without saying. Do you pay directly from your account? Do you pay from somewhere else? Are you receiving payments? There's usually a lot of steps involved in that process. Now, this probably isn't relevant to any, yes, no, I think Terry has somebody working with her now, but everybody else is on their own. But still, the payroll in a business, even if it's just you have to pay yourself. A lot of people don't, but you need to factor that in. Terry's laughing, yeah. Did you want to say something?
The reason why you said I don't pay myself. or as you were saying, a lot of people don't pay themselves?
You don't know.
No.
I think it's quite common in business, especially when people start. And this is, I don't have any statistics, but this is like anecdotal, you know, from what people say. You're so focused on starting the business, you actually forget that you're putting your time to create that business. And therefore that's money. So people often forget that the number one employee is you. So that's just something I'm going to put out there. But I think we all do it. And then we realize that, oh, I think when you think of how much you would pay somebody to do what you were doing, that's when you start to think about it. But either way, payroll is a process that needs to be considered. Ordering. Now, whether it's cosmetics, whether it's graphic design and equipment, even if it's a business service, like Amajit was saying, you know, a consultancy service, you still have to order, whether it's physical equipment, whether it's digital equipment, whether it's, you know, automation equipment, there's ordering involved, and that, you know, that takes time and that has a process. Production of your product or service, and tracking sales. Because obviously we're hoping that you will all have sales and you will all get customers, but you will need to track those sales, monitor if they go up and down, see if there's a pattern with certain customers, with certain regions. Do you see what I mean? Especially, for example, in the skincare and beauty, there might be certain products that track better than others, or certain products are seasonal. You know, again, if you can't keep on top of what you're selling, you then can't keep on top of what you're ordering, so you can make more of it, or vice versa. But again, people do these things all the time. It's a matter of how you track it, and it's a matter of accepting that they're all processes. So this isn't every single process you could have in a business. These are just some examples, and I'm sure you will think of others. But what I'm trying to say is, even if it's a small business and it's just you already have business processes, and some of those can be automated. Okay. So going back again, these processes, their tasks, their activities, sending email. It's, again, sorry to come back to you, Terry, but what you've said is something that I hear so often. If you're running everything yourself, you're getting different types of emails. You're getting inquiries. You're getting emails from your suppliers. You're getting emails from your stockists maybe, or just general emails or spam emails. All of that's coming through. How do you manage that? So that you can send the right emails to the people who you really need to send to. So the sending emails, the invoicing, we've talked about ordering. I've specifically mentioned raising purchase orders here, but that's ordering, and even stock taking. These are all processes. Now, some of these processes are really, when I say add value, what I mean is they make your life easier. Some of them are very labor intensive. You know, you've got to sit and spend a lot of time to create the process flow and get it done properly. And there are some processes that you have to do by law. So for example, there's certain requirements about your accounts, how you do your audits and things like that. So the processes that get you to meet the legal requirements are basically processes that you legally have to do. So how do we decide which processes we automate? We can't automate everything. Well, maybe not yet, but it's a matter of we've got to prioritize which is the most important step that's going to make us more efficient right now. Okay. So this, and a lot of this probably sounds like very simple advice, not too advanced, but sometimes it's easier to keep things simple. The first thing I would say is look at your business. And first of all, just identify all the key processes. The reason I went on about filing, sending newsletters, invoicing, things that you all do, is that it's important that we capture everything you're doing in your business. And I mean everything, because nearly everything is a process. Then based on what your needs are, what your customer needs are, what your staffing levels are, in most of the cases, it's just one of you. We've got to decide what is the priority, which processes are more important, which processes do you have to spend more time on, or which processes cost you most money. I always recommend that I wouldn't say I'm quite visual, but I sort of need a bit of help with things. So I have to sort of break things down very clearly for myself. Everybody's different, but whichever way you can, identify each key process and then go into that process step by step. What happens? What happens first, second, third, and fourth in your invoicing, for example? What are the stages? If you had to explain that process to somebody else, where would you start? And the reason I say that is that it's a bit like I was talking about the car assembly line. You start from one place and you move down the chain to another to get the end result. If you're clear exactly all the steps in each of your processes, you will have a better idea which of those steps you can automate. Does that make sense? It's sometimes it's just a matter of stepping back, and in trying to simplify, you really have to just go into the detail. So where do we have the chance to build in automation? And there are going to be some areas that you can't automate, and that's the other thing. So it's just a matter of, we've got to know where we can and where we can't. And if we decide we're going to automate this step within this process, now we have to find the way to automate, okay? And by automation platform, I mean the tools that you can use to automate. Okay, so how does that sound? Okay, got a thumbs up. All right, well, let's keep going then. So some of these everybody knows, and I've recently started to learn a lot more about automation myself. But there's so many technology-based apps that you can use for automation, so many. Communication, we've talked about emails and following up with customers. Communication apps or communication platforms, there are loads of them. We're going to talk about them. There's apps that can help you with your finance. There's platforms and apps for your data, even marketing and advertising. Now, I think Suprina mentioned she didn't want to automate the social media because you wanted it to be personal, because it had to come from you. Totally understand. There are apps that can help you do that and almost personalize as well. So we're going to go into that. Even advertising can be automated. Sales, actually even recruitment. I mean, if you think of something like LinkedIn, for example, if anybody does use LinkedIn, you can actually create sort of campaigns based on the information you give them to recruit people. I've heard of people who use LinkedIn for their recruitment rather than going to a recruitment consultant, A, because it saves money, and B, because obviously you've got that social media engagement. So social engagement, I should say. But LinkedIn is considered a social media by some people. So I don't know where you feel about that, but what I'm saying is that there are ways to either use an automatic platform for your recruitment, or you could do what many people do, which is outsourcing. Social media, of course, we're going to talk about later, because that's a key one where you can apply automation. But basically, as we've said before, if a business process can be automated, more than likely, right about now, there is an app for that. So we're going to try and cover some of the key ones, some of the main ones. Things move so quickly that even as I'm talking now, I'm sure you might find some apps that I haven't mentioned, and that's absolutely fine. The thing is, once you're clear what you're trying to automate, you can then know where to look for these platforms and these apps. Okay? Right. Gonna have a little quiz here. So I'd like everybody to, tell me what they think. So this first question I've got here is, which is the most effective marketing platform that you can think of, that everybody's using? Let's just go around around the table for want of a better expression, but let's go around the room. Terry.
I would say Instagram. One of the main reasons for that is because you get to showcase whatever you're doing.
Okay. Okay. I've got some statistics later, so I'm not gonna say what's right. Most of it is going to be right. So I'm not, but definitely. And I think especially for somebody in the visual area, Instagram has got loads of benefits for you, hasn't it? Because you can actually, people can see your work and the graphics and what you could do for them. Absolutely. Anybody else?
I would say the most effective marketing platform is the one that gets you the most leads.
I think that's a great answer. And I think you're right. I think that there's so many platforms, but it really does depend on what your business is and who you're trying to contact. So absolutely. Anybody else? I mean, it's interesting because we've got 4 of you and all your businesses are quite different, which is great because we're going to cover quite a wide range of needs.
It could also depend on where the customer is. So they may be on LinkedIn, but they might be on some trade journal, which isn't published online anywhere.
Yeah, and this is exactly, it's finding out, again, what the processes are, but also this is where your understanding of your business and of who your customers should be will dictate where you go. Terry, did you want to say something?
No, that's okay.
Sure, okay. So another question, again, which isn't going to have a definite answer, but which percentage of small businesses will use social media? Let's just put that out there.
Well, all should, but that's not the case.
Why do you think all of them should, Terry?
To be honest, it's technology and it's the way the world is going now. Not only that, with the COVID and the lockdown, many businesses has taken to online, because look at the past 2 years, we were shut out of the office or wherever we were. And only those who could do online, for instance, restaurant that could order using Uber, that sort of thing, could be delivered too. So this is why I think it's the way of the future. Yeah.
I think definitely online communications it's almost like a no-brainer. Yeah. You have to be online because no matter what you're offering, people are online in one stage or another. But like, as Amajit said, it's a matter of where online they are. And because online now is so vast, it could be social media, it could be website, it could just be any kind of communications. I think you kind of have to also look at being in more than one place. So definitely. Okay. But with the social media in particular, it seems that many small businesses are using social media just because some people actually, you can use social media for sales. I mean, you all know this, but when it first started, it didn't necessarily seem like that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how you can integrate social media into your business life. But I would suspect that percentage would be very high in most countries right about now. And now just going to your individual cases. So do you use any social media or media? And if you do, how many platforms?
Yes, I personally do. And about three. I think it's about 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say 3 for myself as well.
Your business?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it is interesting because, there is always that issue. And if you want to talk about social media, I'm probably not the expert, but there is sort of the divide between how you create your social media for your business as opposed to how you present your personal social media. And for some people, it's very similar. For some people, they have a very clear plan for what they communicate about their business. So it's interesting. And okay, how often would you say you post on social media? How much time would you spend?
I can get sucked in all day. I am trying to be disciplined about it, but I can get sucked in all day. From I wake up after devotion and all of that, I glance before the children are off to school. When I finish the children, I glance again. So if I'm not careful, I can be on it for hours. But I try to post at least 3 to 4 times a week.
Your business, this is?
Yes, but then sometimes some platforms get neglected. So I'm mostly now I'm gravitating to TikTok. So for weeks I don't look at Instagram. So it's trying to get that balance.
Okay.
Oh my God. I can't even say when. And I've got a few sales of Facebook, but I haven't even touched Facebook for the longest time.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Terry. Charlene, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I get most of my clients from directories. So for the therapy and coaching, it's on directories. I get quite a lot on the directories. For the childcare directory as well.
Okay.
Very little on Instagram. I'm on Instagram, but I automate my Instagram so it goes straight onto the post goes straight onto the Facebook as well.
Okay.
I've just taken on a new assistant, and she said, "No, you're posting at the wrong times on Instagram." So she knows that at specific times you're meant to post, and she looked at my actual sector and posted at the time that she needed to post that, put the right hashtag on, and I had 3 people inbox me yesterday. So yeah, so that's a good thing.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, it is like an art, I think, understanding where the people you want to connect to, when and where to post and how. So I think it's useful to, and this is an example of outsourcing. You've got yourself an assistant who's probably got those skills that has actually added value to you, hasn't it?
Yeah, she's a content creator, yeah, so she knows all the ins and outs of it all.
Yeah,
I didn't know there were specific times. It's so strange. Like,
no, and I mean, that's the thing. I think when you get hold of an expert in an area, they're going to tell you things that you just wouldn't know. Yeah. And hopefully that's going to make a difference for how you connect with the people and how you post. So that's excellent. That's great.
Definitely. Thank you.
Okay. Suprina.
Yeah, so I post on Instagram daily. And it's not the only one. I do try to keep up with Facebook maybe 3 days a week. Doesn't always happen, but I've decided to just focus on one because it just gets too much. So I'm like, yeah, let's just focus and grow Instagram. And well, my plan was let's focus and grow Instagram for 6 months. And I think this is about a year later and I'm still on Instagram. But yeah, I feel like it's just growing and I'm doing more on there. And so for me, it's the best way to showcase my products.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. This has been so useful. It's also useful for me because, you know, when you discuss these things, when I'm putting together this presentation, I was hoping that the feedback I got would spring on to more things that we're going to discuss. And because all of you've got a different approach, it just makes it more, hopefully more relevant, you know, rather than me just being the only one talking, you're all adding value to this and hopefully learning from each other. So thank you for that. I've got some answers. I just one website, there's so many, but I just scrolled in to some stats about social media from last year. So according to this website, which is called, I think it's called Ober, let me just check. It's called Ober something. Bear with me a second. Oh, no, if I do that, then you can't see me, so let's not do that. Right, let me go back to presenting. But anyhow, according to this, about 3.78 billion people using social media worldwide, based on last year's figures, okay? Now, if there's 7-point-something billion people, it's just half, yeah? According to this, Facebook is the most popular globally, which I guess wouldn't surprise everybody. What's interesting is this data shows an average of 22 hours and 25 minutes a day. This is from the US. But that's an average. Terry's looking like, really? But I think it's an average. So there's going to be some who are on the other extreme and some who are quite low. So it's an average. Now, the data I got said that a lot of 73% of people in the US who are doing marketing, the marketeers, believe that their social media marketing was either highly effective or very effective. And 71% of customers in this poll would recommend a brand after a positive experience, which I spelled wrong, but missing out the E. And going back onto Instagram now, what they were saying on this data is that there are about 500 million Instagram stories daily. Now, it's interesting, isn't it? Because if some of us have been on social media for a while, there was a time when we didn't have Instagram stories. And yet now the stories, I mean, I'm not the social media expert, but I think that Instagram stories have led to something like TikTok even happening. Do you see what I mean? Because obviously when we move from just seeing pictures to videos to stories, everything started to change. You know, I mean, people talk about TikTok now, they're not talking about Snapchat that much, but there was a time just before TikTok where you had Snapchat as well. The point I'm making is that I think social media is evolving, and I think that there's some people who would argue that Instagram is more popular than Facebook for many things. But overall, in terms of the social media platform that's the most known, at the moment, it seems to be Facebook. But that may change. And again, it depends specifically on your business and who you're trying to target. So these are just some statistics. You will find so many stats everywhere if you look. So I always take everything like this with a pinch of salt, but it's just to give you a bit of an idea of what was happening last year. So as we know, I'm going to talk about marketing and advertising first, but we're going to move to social media. We know that everybody knows that promoting your business means using regular and organized marketing tools. Now, I don't know if you can see my picture very well, but in the olden days, we always used to use business cards and flyers, didn't we? You know, it was important to get business cards, and I still think it is for some businesses, but it was getting your business out there. You know, Sabrina, you were saying about posting on Instagram every single day. I believe it's got to be regular. You know, once a day might be too much for one business, but it might be the right amount for your business. But I think, especially now, people are used to getting constant feedback, needing reminders, needing to be sure that you exist. So whether it's public relations, whether it's print ads, business cards, those things always happen. But now, as I've said here, and we've all discussed, the main tool is social media. Now, it might seem like I'm laboring the point, but because social media is a fantastic tool and it is vital for businesses, we've got to think about how we use it. Like you were saying, you know, Terry, it can take up a lot of your time. How much of that time you're using on your business? We've got to work it out. But managing social media takes time and also strategy. You know, that's why, you know, you've got this assistant to help you, somebody who's got that understanding of how it works. If you're running lots of social media accounts, which is why I asked you how many you were all doing, that can be onerous. It can be time consuming. So there's a big, I think, a big, case for automating your social media. If you've decided that social media is something that you need to be involved in, I would suggest that there's so many apps that can help you with the planning of your social media, editing, even some of those apps that some of you are using that can actually analyze your social media. So see how effective it's been and helping you have a strategy in a way that you can put the data in and let it do the work rather than you sit there with hours taking the photos, editing them, getting the lighting right, posting it up on Instagram, then copying it onto Facebook. No one's got time for that if you're going to be doing social media as your main marketing tool. So I have to give the caveat that depending on what you decide to do, you may automate massively or automate just a little. But there's some of the basic steps that a little bit of automation can just make your life much easier. So my statement here is that I believe quite strongly that by automating your social media activity, you will definitely get more consistent engagement and ultimately build brand awareness. How long that will take, that's for a whole other workshop. But I think having a structure to what you do and fitting that into your day without it taking up too much of your time is the way forward if this is a really key way for you to market. And we've all accepted that being online in some shape or form is vital. So you've got to make sure you do it as effectively as possible, okay? I put Twitter up here. We didn't talk about Twitter, but depending on the type of business you're in, Twitter can be really helpful as well. Again, it's all about who you're trying to communicate with. So if we are going to automate social media, what I've listed here are just a few of these platforms. Now, I'm not the expert on all of these. I've only used a couple, but I just wanted to put things out there so that you could possibly go and look up yourselves ways that you can find to make your life with social media easier. So all of these are what they call integrated platforms that help with either how you schedule your posts, so the time of the post, the nature of the post. Some of them help with the way it looks, the editing, and some of them can work with more than one platform, okay? So I don't have any preference. I've just put some of these out there, but I mean, if you want more information, we can always get it to you, but there's something called Tailwind, which is really good for Instagram and for Pinterest. Hootsuite is like a whole, it's quite a popular one that can help you integrate the way you communicate between your different platforms. And later in Hootsuite are similar, but they have different benefits. And then there's one called Buffer. Most of these are free to start with, and then they will have obviously programs and sort of different procedures, so that if you decide you want to do A, B, and C, it costs this amount and you do this. So yes, some of them will cost money, but some of them, a lot of them are free. And to start off with, it might be worth looking at the free version, seeing what that does for you, okay? If I try to list all of them, I would be obsolete and I'd be out of date. So if you are interested in finding ways to make your social media easier, except for Charlene, who has her social media assistant, she might be interested in this, I don't know. Just go and have a look at social media automation. Just do a Google, social media automation or automation platforms for social media, and do some research. It could really help you, yeah? But it's definitely something to really invest in. And I think the people who have done that would definitely see the benefit. Okay. Just a quick one on this. Now, I'm sure most of you know about MailChimp. Yeah, can I get some hands up or something in the chat about people in MailChimp? Oh yeah, you use later, excellent, okay. Yes, okay, yes. Yes, okay. Yes, love MailChimp. I do too. I started using MailChimp a while ago, and a bit like you, Terry, I wanted to communicate with people, but it wasn't I quite like writing the emails, but scheduling, knowing when to send it and all that stuff. And whew, it was just, and I found MailChimp, and I'm not very, very technically savvy, I have to admit, but I found MailChimp quite easy to navigate at first for the basic systems anyway. And I'm always surprised actually how many sort of big companies that I see, and when I look at their mailing, I'm like, oh, they've used MailChimp. Do you know what I mean? So I think that it's a bit like Facebook. I think MailChimp was one of the first ones that everybody got to hear about. So it's the one that people use. I'm sure there are others. But I think MailChimp is something that just makes all of that email communication manageable, and also it can make your stuff look beautiful. You can have coordinated marketing messages. You can have consistent messaging. It looks professional, it looks beautiful. And also there's great data collection, because I think that's what most companies are looking for. You know, you're sending something out because you want information about your customers, their habits, their needs, and it's automatically automated, if you see what I mean. There's no way you could get all that data yourself and analyze it and assess it and use it in a similar time frame as MailChimp. It's just not possible unless you had a team of thousands. And we've all established that most of us here are in a group of, oh, well, Charlene's got a social media assistant, Terry has an assistant now, but basically we're in small groups. So this is a really, I think MailChimp and the like are really important tools as well, together with the social media. How's everyone else got on with MailChimp, and what's your feeling about it? Anybody?
Yeah, I've started with MailChimp, but it was a bit complicated for me, and I now use MailerLite, which is free, and it's given me automation for free as well. So yeah, it's been brilliant for me. So I just stuck with it.
Excellent. And see, that's the thing. I mean, I say MailChimp because that's the one that I know of, but I know that it's evolved, and there are other ones as well. And yeah, I think I found MailChimp, I think when it starts to get like, when you want to do massive campaigns, sometimes it got a little bit too much for my brain. But I think when it was just basically simple, sending the same sort of newsletter out on a regular basis, for me, it was fine. But again, it depends on your needs, doesn't it? And the other thing I would say, Sabrina, yours is beauty, right?
Yes.
Skincare.
Yes.
Yes. So I believe that that's an industry where people need newness, or they think they need newness. They need to sort of hear about stuff all the time, don't they?
Yeah.
And then you've got to try and sell them what was already there in a different way. Definitely. Yeah, would you go along with that?
Yes, definitely. It can't just be the same. I mean, it's the same product, but yeah, definitely different ways to use it. How are you going to use it? The list is endless.
Exactly, and that's where the automation can really help you, because you can rejig some of the things without having to have like a whole strategy meeting, you know.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah,
definitely, yeah. Okay, Terry, if you haven't used it, that's fine. Look into it if you think you want to send newsletters and mail shots and stuff. But it is good because it can help you automate your responses to whoever you send the messages to. It's good for sending to groups. I think what you're looking for might be something different, and we're going to come to it later. But if you decide to send to groups of people, I think MailChimp and this kind of app are automated marketing newsletters, basically. I think they're great. But I think for you, we might have something else up our sleeves. Okay, so is everybody okay? Does everybody want a break? We've got a bit more time, but I know everyone's working, so you might not, but I just want to give people a chance to breathe or ask any questions or reflect on anything for a few minutes. Everyone okay? Happy to continue, okay. The thing is, these days, everybody's in work, aren't they? So we just sort of want to get it done and then carry on with what we're doing. All right, no problem. Communication. Terry, this is for you. Well, actually, it's for everybody. So let me hide the chat so you can, here we go. So basically, we all know that we're using emails and all sorts of platforms to communicate these days. Automation can really help simplify and standardize. So the emails that you send externally. Also, emails that are coming in as well. Because if you're using something like Google, Gmail, Microsoft Teams, already you're in a system that manages your communications. There are tools that can help you with your calendars and planning and booking meetings, which is vital, especially, I think, for those of us who work on our own or work with lots of different people. Managing a calendar can be quite tricky to juggle. So if you're ever in a position where you can use something like even the diaries in Microsoft Teams, I think Calendly is the one that I know that is probably really doing well at the moment. But it's a matter of looking at your calendar and also having the opportunity for people to book and contact you. Because it's one thing if you have your calendar, but unless other people can see it, you can't then, utilize it better. You remember you've got this, but maybe somebody wants to book with you. So something like Calendly is an excellent way to connect the systems you've already got with the people who need to reach you. And again, all of these do data sharing and tracking. So it's just about what I call connecting the dots. So if you have reason to communicate, which you will, think about even doing like out of office responses, standardized emails, and just templates that you can use so you don't have to start from scratch every time. That saves you time. But if there's a way you can connect all your communication tools, it's something to think about. And even that, I don't know if we always think about it as automation, but actually it is. Anything that is repeating something and making it less time consuming is automation, okay? For people who need reminders, you can actually set up reminders. So for example, Terry, there are ways that you could set a reminder to say, once a week, check any outstanding emails. Do you see what I mean? So then you go, oh, I'm going to have to look at these. So I'm not saying you need to go and get all the automation straight away. I'm just saying there's tools you can use to just get you up and running before you actually dive in. Now, most people are using Google or Microsoft Teams or whatever, I'm sure. Calendly and some of these other diaries, they usually have a free starting point. So it's brilliant, it's free, you can do all of this. But in my experience, most of the advanced sort of tools will come when you purchase one of their packages. So as always, just be sure that the free one is giving you what you need, and start with that first and see if it's worth going up to the more advanced one. Because for some people it's worth the money, some people the free one is fine. And these days they're always alternatives, so look into that. But I think if you haven't started automating your communications, it's something to really think about. Right, now we're going to talk about money, which is very important. So I want to ask you, let me just make sure I haven't jumped. Yeah, here we go. Question to all of you. Do you have an accountant? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, anybody else?
Yes, I do.
No, not at the moment.
Not at the moment, okay. And Charlene?
Yes, I do.
Excellent, okay. So then we've answered the next question, who manages your tax affairs? Because your accountant will manage that. Do any of you sell direct to your customers?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, excellent. And have you had guidance on this from a professional?
No.
No.
Okay.
Guidance on taxes?
No, the guidance on the
something
actual
else?
sales. Yeah, the sales and the tax affairs, yeah.
No.
No. It's interesting. There are no right or wrong answers here. This is just to read the room and understand where everybody is. What I'm going to talk about now are some of the platforms that can help with managing your taxes, managing sales, managing finances. But of course, if you have an accountant, chances are you won't need some of those tools. And this is one of the areas where I think it's really important to assess where we need automation and where we don't. I think most people who give anyone advice on business would always say, if you're really serious about setting up a business, investigate your finances. If you can, invest in an accountant or somebody who understands this, because that's going to be the key part of how you manage your money. So the majority of you have done that. And most accountants, I believe, will look at your finances and all of that, but your tax affairs, to make sure that you're not going to be liable to any fines or to be set up in an illegal way. So that's fantastic. In terms of sales, though, there are also some, I wouldn't say legal things, but I mean, depending on how you're set up as a business, there are some responsibilities that you have to adhere to in terms of storing your records and so on and so forth, but also your sales. So that's what I mean by guidance on a professional. But a lot of accountants are very, very well trained on those elements. Even if they're not salespeople, they know what the implications are. Terry, you wanted to say something?
Yes, because my accountant have me to generate my invoices through QuickBooks.
And here we are. I'm just about to talk about QuickBooks, actually. See, Terry, you know, we're on the same page.
Yeah. And it's also allow me to link my bank account to it. So he sees everything I'm going on with.
Yeah, but that's amazing because, and you know something, I'm glad you raised that, because even the person you've outsourced to is using automation.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So what they've said is they've realized, because I'm assuming your accountant works for several other people, and they've obviously realized that to get the best out of their time, they can help you by connecting things. Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually what we're going to talk about here. So brilliant, thank you. So what I was going to say was financials are a key area for automation, purely because a lot of the tasks are repetitive, you know, filing purchase orders, your payments, bookkeeping, you know, keeping your accounts, and even the sales. There's very few ways of managing your finances without recording and storing all of this information. You know, I don't think it's possible, or if it is possible, it won't be for a while. So there's going to be a lot of paperwork involved in managing finances. And I think that's possibly why a lot of the legal elements are related to how people store their paperwork, how they keep on top of their money, and how they sort of, you know, keep a track of it, which is another reason why accountants are so important, because they can help you understand what type of paperwork you really need, what you don't, and how to make it work for you. And if you've got an accountant like Terry's who's thinking even further, trying to simplify things, so you don't have one bank account for for your money coming in and one bank account for your expenditure. The sales go straight into your bank account, so that's less processing. In the olden days, you would have to physically collect your money, trot off to the bank and pay it in. And I say that, it's not actually that long ago. But now there are ways and all of that stuff can happen, and it's kind of automated. But even with the expertise in accounting, there are ways you can make life simpler. So if we look at automating your financial processes, I've just used a couple here. So if you have, for example, a service where your consumers pay you directly, either online or, you know, on one of those PDA machines, you can use something like Sage Pay. It's a platform like that. Or there's Xero, or there's QuickBooks. Now, I'm not an accountant and a financial person. However, I do know that a lot of these have quite various processes inside. So you can select basically what they do for you. Terry, you might actually be able to help us on this. But something like QuickBooks, it helps, I believe, look at automating sort of the payments. Also, it manages the wages, and it can also link the sales as well. So you can sort of have a back of house and front of house. But what it does is it connects it all together. Is that right?
That's right. And it also reminds you of any outstanding payments to get in touch with customers. So yes, you're correct.
Yeah, good. And I think the important thing is that in large companies, they have a finance department, and they will have a finance department that's chasing up payments, that's doing payroll, that's issuing wages, that's chasing outstanding invoices, that's fighting off creditors. You know, you literally have a team of people doing that. Then you have the sales department who are out trying to get the money coming in. And all of that is under the finance umbrella. Well, sales isn't under finance, but it's related to finance, because if the money doesn't come in, you won't be able to pay the people you've got to pay. But just keeping on top of it all meant that every accountant would have an assistant, accounts assistant, a payroll clerk. And when you run a business for yourself and it's just you or one other person, it's a lot. It's a lot. So if you haven't, and I think Amajit, you know, your business is coming up, and I'm sure you will decide how you best want to organize the finances of it. But again, it may well be that, especially for consultancy services, you know, whilst people aren't necessarily paying you instantly on with contactless, you still need to have a flow of money coming in and money coming out, and how you manage it. So these are all quite easy to find platforms that are being used regularly by small and large businesses. So I would consider investigating these as your businesses grow, or even like Terry, with the help of your accountant, you know, what can make your life simpler for you and for your accountant. So I just wanted to talk about, here we go, automating the sales processes now. With Shopify, obviously, if you have an online website, an online shopping platform, I believe it's a full service sales platform. So it has some of the things that we were talking about before. And then there's, you know, these little machines that make life easier with payments, but they're also all connected to other platforms. And I just want to reiterate, a lot of the finance platforms will cover sales and payment. So you won't necessarily need 2 different platforms. You could easily find one that, because these will cost money, fair enough. So you need to find one that fits in with your budget and fits in with your needs. And also depending on the services you offer and how much people are spending. So if people are only spending, I say only, if they're buying sort of low item tickets, you might not need a full suite of all the services. But if you're selling, you know, a range of prices, a range of sizes of service, you might need a bigger package. Either way, it's worth getting some automation in. I think for sales and finance, I think automation really helps with accuracy more than anything else. And I think that's really important, because being accurate takes a lot of time. And with finances, you really don't want to have any mistakes if you can avoid it. So I'm not saying they're going to solve all your problems, because you still have to input a lot of the data, but the general day-to-day running of some of these processes can be done quite accurately by a bot. And when you need advice on tax affairs and things like that, that's when you would go to your accountant, if you have one. Okay. I just think it's interesting these days that there's loads of tools to help us all run our businesses better. It's just that we have to spend the time finding these tools. So you spend a bit of time, but hopefully in the long run, it will save you time. Right, now let's go on to the next one. So there's some other options that I wanted to talk about. And I just want to repeat that I've only highlighted a few types of platforms. I haven't been able to list every single platform that's out there, but I'm hoping that you'll have a feel of the different areas where you can automate and the different platforms that are commonly used. There are some ways to integrate all your automation processes. So for example, you've got, I don't know, maybe you've got your sales processes automated and you've got your communication ones. There's a platform which I've come across, which is called Zapier, which actually connects all those automations together. So it can help you, depending on what you choose, link your automations into what they call workflows, which is basically bigger processes in one system. So everything is under one roof. And this can be very useful for businesses as well, because okay, you've got someone doing social media, you've got someone doing your sales, you've got someone doing this. After a while, it's like, oh. So this kind of system can be useful, depending on the size of your business and what you want to do. But do check it out. It's called Zapier, and it manages social media. It manages everything. So it's something that you could look at. You basically build the process flow for yourself. So you just select which of the tools you want it to automate, and it helps you do that. So it can be very customized. The other thing, and I haven't talked much about outsourcing, but Terry obviously talked to us about her accountant. And outsourcing is very, very simply getting somebody else to do something. We all know that. But there's Fiverr, which I'm sure you all know about, which is a great platform where you actually can find a creative or anybody to do certain jobs for your business without spending an awful lot of money. Oh, yeah. Hi, Terry.
Hi, yes, because have you, which one? I don't think it was Fiverr, but there's another one that I've used because I had a really complicated design that came in and I struggled to digitize it myself.
Right.
And it was a guy in India charged me £15, it works out to digitize it for me. And it was quite good because I spent 2 days and I was still struggling.
Well, this is it, isn't it? It's the time, your time against that money. And 2 days, and you said £15?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, excellent. I've used Fiverr before as well. And I think it's also sort of identifying, like we said at the beginning, which of the processes are worth automating, which do you outsource? Because some of the creative processes, you can't get a machine to do them. You need a human pair of eyes, a human strategy, human brain. And yet it's, you know, it's not like before where you can look in yellow pages for somebody. this kind of platform allows you to connect with people all over the world and get something in a fixed time frame. So if you do have one of those businesses where you need something creative or something done with a certain bit of flair, or just, you know, done by a human, Fiverr, I don't know of any others, I'm sure there are, but this is just an example of where you can go for that. And again, Fiverr does all sorts of things. So you might even find somebody who's got accountancy expertise. I mean, it's unlikely you go to Fiverr, but you never know. The point is that Fiverr is a platform for any type of expertise. They're just freelancers. So look into that when you want outsourcing, which is another type of automation, but it's a matter of what is best for you and your business. So we're just going to try and wrap up a little, and then we're going to have a chance for some more questions and maybe some more discussions. Just to summarize, I would say that the benefits of automation are that we all know that you individually, me, we just can't do it all. Automation can help you simplify your record keeping and your paperwork. It can allow us to focus on some of those areas that we can't automate. So put more time into the manual, creative, personal stuff and take away the repetitive, robotic, automated, important stuff. Long term, it's cost effective if you choose the right automation and you apply it properly. Of course, there are going to be some costs in the short term. So I wouldn't want to suggest that you can automate and do everything for free as you want. Some of these platforms will really give you the best when you invest a bit of money. So that's also a reality. But the tech automation, using the bots, using systems that can be managed while you're not there is a game changer. It just means you can save so much time and hopefully improve accuracy. I would say though, keep looking, keep doing your research. There are new platforms. People are very creative and ingenuity. What's the word? Show a lot of ingenuity. I can't speak. So there are going to be new platforms popping up all the time. In the same way that I've mentioned Fiverr, Terry was using another one, possibly there are others. So just, again, look in the area you think you need help, but also weigh up the pros and cons of one automation platform against another, and you might find that it's the third one that actually meets your specific needs. So here's a nice picture of Alan Sugar. So we basically covered the concept of automation. Today, what I did was just did a snapshot of some of the useful tools. I've repeated it a million times, but I'll say it again. Every business has individual needs. So please make sure you find what is relevant for you and your needs. Don't be swayed by other people because it might not be right for what you need. It is possible to automate without technology. So we don't all have to rely on technology. And that's where I would look at outsourcing, but consider the cost benefits. How much is it going to cost you? Can you afford it now? Are you okay to manage without it? Or is there another process that needs automation and is going to make a better impact on your bottom line than this one? Because of course, we've got to prioritize. When you're starting out, you've only got so much time and so much money. So you have to really be mindful of where you spend your efforts and where you spend your money. And I think Terry's discussion of getting somebody else to digitize that particular design, after the 2 days, you could have possibly spent another couple of days, but that would have been 2 days of your time that would have been gone where you couldn't do other things. So you bit the bullet, and in the end, it didn't cost that much, but it saved you time. Yeah. And those are the kind of decisions that you will have to keep making, but you can look back and say, you know what, I'm glad I did that. Or, okay, I wouldn't do that next time. But either way, it's a judgment call as to what is best for that time and that finance situation. And also the timing. Again, you don't need to do all the automation from the start. See how your business builds up and see where certain processes might change as your business gets larger. So it may well be that there's some processes that you're happy with at the moment, but as things grow and things get more complicated, you may need to consider automation. So it's something that I would keep looking at if I were you, just so you can make sure you're getting the best out of your business as you grow. And as I say, there's new systems all the time, so keep an eye on that. So that's all I wanted to cover today.